Oh, I forgot to hit record on any of this. Okay, so only when the bases are the same. Opposite of multiplication is division, so if we add them when we multiply, then we subtract the exponents when we divide. So this would become a to the m minus n. So that base stays there. Don't start doing things. I noticed on your quizzes and on some of your work from yesterday, you're trying to combine the base. Don't do that. In other words, if these are whole numbers, if this was, let me go to the next slide so you can see. If this was 4 to the third over 4 to the second, you do 3 minus 2, but you don't do 4 divided by 4. You don't make that 1. The base stays the same, and you just subtract the exponents. Okay? Whether they're numbers or variables. Let me show you another one. All right. Let's say I have 8 to the 10th over 8 to the 4th. What does that become based on the quotient of powers? 8 to the 6th power. That is quotient of powers. And there's a reason I keep writing the names of the properties beside, because when we start putting them together, I want you to see how they go together, okay? How you use multiple ones. You can put whatever you like inside your foldable. Anything you think might help you. What if what if I have something that looks like this? You're exactly right. When you add the top, what is that called?
It's called wait, what you do again?
Product of powers, that's right. So we combine the top first here. That's called the product. Whoa, Stacy. The product of powers. When you're multiplying with the same base, you add the exponents. That's the very first property on your foldable.
I thought that was power.
That's when they're in parentheses and you distribute. I think you wrote them on the wrong place. Some more.
So you do like that? So that's, Miss you leave it like that or no?
Not yet. We're not done yet.
No, Miss
We'll push record again. All right, so now I can use that new property, that quotient of powers, to do what? Subtract. So what do you get? 9 to the 5th. That's called the quotient of powers. Does that confuse anybody?
No.
All right, y'all say that now. How about this one? Look at this one. Ooh, this one's a fraction times something. Now, first of all, how do we multiply fractions? Straight across, you're exactly right. Straight across. Top times top, bottom times bottom, right? So, if I multiply this, but the second one's not a fraction. That's right. So, what would this become if you multiplied them together? 1 times y to the 8th, y to the 8th, over any fraction that you have. You told me. If I have 2/3 times 1/5, you do top times top, bottom times bottom, right? So I did the same thing here, top times top and bottom times bottom.
Okay, so how do you do that? 8 times 1 and 5 times 1.
Ask a question. This is a question of people who don't.
Oh, you want the exponent?
We haven't done the exponents yet. We're fixing to.
Another one.
Let me put this. So the question was, if this was 5 over y to the 5th, times y to the 8,
Yeah.
then it would just be 5y8 over y5. You multiply them together.
Why
Yeah.
is the third power?
Why, Zaya?
Subtract 8 and 5.
That's exactly right. What's that property called?
Quotient of power.
Quotient of power.
Yes or no? Yeah. Why don't you be a little more excited about it?
Yeah. It wasn't hard.
All right. Well, you know where they're fixing to build because we're fixing to add.
So you subtract that?
Yeah. Once I give you these two division properties, then we're going to put all 5 properties together to do things, okay? So you have to be able to spot them. That's the hardest part of spotting which one to use. All right, let me show you the second one. The second one is called power of a quotient. What was the last one called? Quotient of a power. This one is power of a quotient. All right, so this one, quotient means divide, right? This one has something being divided and has an exponent on the outside. This one is very closely related to power of a product. Remember when we had A times B with an M on the outside?
Oh, yeah.
And what happened?
M-A-N times.
It went to both, right? So it's going to be the same thing here, only when you're dividing. And we learned yesterday also when you're multiplying. So when you're multiplying or dividing. When dividing, I saw that, Zaya. Only when dividing, distribute the exponent. And I keep saying only when, because if you're adding or subtracting inside those parentheses, it doesn't work. Okay? You can't just distribute exponents. But multiplying or dividing inside, and you can. Okay? So this becomes A to the M over B to the M. Tell me this, though. Why am I not subtracting those exponents? It's what? They're not the same. The bases aren't the same. The bases aren't the same. One's got a base of A and one's got a base of B. When you subtract, why aren't you subtracting the exponents? Huh?
You lost me.
All right, let me show you an example. Let's say I have x over, we'll just make it easy first, x over y to the third.
Is X, it's going to be X.
Yep,
Over,
yep,
and leave it like that.
and leave it like that. That looks easy, right? You know it's not going to stay that easy, right?
It's not going to say easy today or like right now.
Yeah, right now.
Oh my God.
Oh, I know what it is.
All right, so distribute to the top and the bottom, right? All right, so look what happens. I've got x squared to the third. And I'm going to put parentheses around because I want it to go to the whole bottom. That's called power of a... What's it called when you take it to the top and bottom of a fraction?
I'll hear that.
Thank you. Quotient. Quotient. Not what does it look like now, but what did we do to get from the pink to the green? Power of a quotient. We distributed top and bottom, okay? Some of this you'll get to where you can do it in your head and you don't want to. Like you may have looked at that and go, oh, that's x to the 6 up top, right? You put two properties together and that's fine. The more you do them, the more you'll start to see that. So now that becomes x to the 6th. That's power of a power. How about on the bottom? It's got to go to both though, right?
12y minus.
Don't multiply it. Don't multiply it. What's that called? What's it called when you distribute the exponent inside the parentheses like that? Power of product. Okay. Now it's done. Okay. But I'm writing these properties and putting them up here so that you can see how we're using today's and what we did yesterday to simplify these expressions. Let's do another. Let's do a hard one.
That was a hard one.
We didn't know. I like this one. Yes, I will tell you that I would simplify each fraction first before I put them together. Make your life a little bit easier. So Kennedy says to distribute that first on that first fraction. No, you're multiplying again. Don't multiply the number in front because this is an exponent, right? So it's going to come here. I'm going to take it here and take it here. And you're doing this in your head, Zaya, and I understand. But I just want to show you step by step. That 3, this does not become 6 because 2 to the third means 2 times 2 times 2, right? And 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, okay? Which is not 6, so it gives you different numbers what I'm getting at. All right, so this was taking it to the top and the bottom. That's power of a quotient, right? Now, whenever I take it inside these parentheses, I get 2 to the third, x to the third, 3 to the third, t to the third. That's called power of a product, okay? Times t to the 5th over 16. Now, I have a fraction times a fraction. Are we all in agreement? Yes? How do you multiply fractions? All right, so let's just multiply them straight across. 2 to the third. I'm going to go ahead and change that to 8, and you'll see why in just a second.
Wait, go back up. I gotta do that.
2 to the third is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. I'm going to change this to 8. And then up top, I have x3, t5, right? On the bottom, what is 3 to the third power? Yes.
3 is 9 times
3 to the third power is 3 times 3 times 3. All right, nope, I'm not done yet. 27 times 16 on the bottom. Somebody with a calculator do that. What's 27 times 16? 432. All right, so there's 2 more things left to do in this fraction. One is to reduce the numbers in front, okay? 4 divided by 32. That was, 8 divided by 432, I'm sorry. Remember how we did the division problem and then math enter? 1 over 54, okay? So these reduce to 1 over 54. That's just plain old fraction simplification. I simplified the fraction 8 over 432. You can divide them both by 8. There's only one x in there, it's up top, right? How about those t's?
It will
Subtract the exponents.
Subtract them. Subtract the exponents. 5 minus 3 is